Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit host, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit podcast. I am super excited for this episode today because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that's one-day summits, micro summits, flash summits, small, short events. And we've got somebody here, legendary Sasha, with us to help us talk more about this. Sasha, thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to be here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am really excited to have you here with us as a virtual summit consultant over there, a virtual event expert. I am looking forward to picking your brain on this topic that is near and dear to my heart. So before we jump into all of those summit goodies, why don't you just take a few minutes and tell our audience just a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Sasha, and I'm a virtual events coordinator. I help small businesses leverage the virtual events so that they can grow their businesses faster. I've actually started as a virtual event planner, working with clients in different niches, and I've been organizing webinars and summits, but very soon I've started to focus only on the summits because I was just so fascinated what a powerful marketing tool it is in taking your business further in just really record times.
Oh, I love this. And I love that you've had some experience over in the other areas as well as webinars and full-fledged over here with summits. And I think we were just chatting, when we were just chatting in our pre-interview chat, I think we both agree that summits are getting ready to flourish, and they're going to be doing it in a bunch of different ways. So why don't we start off first before we get down into the specific details of all the strategies we want to chat about in this episode. I'd love for you to kind of take our audience through one of the most recent summits that you were part of and kind of talk about why that summit is important, what it represents when it comes to summits across the board.
Absolutely. Well, that summit actually has hosted it for two reasons. Firstly, my own interest in the subject. It was about baby sleep and my experience in that. And then secondly, actually, I was getting so many questions from the clients about hosting virtual summits. A lot of them were just scared and saying, oh, I'm not an expert. I'm not an influencer. How can I have an event with no following or very small email list? And so I thought, okay, I'll take that further. I'll take the challenge and I actually create an event where I have no following, no connection, a subject I'm fairly experienced in, but actually I'm new to the field. So I've created this summit by contacting the speakers, and actually it was very successful. So we've had over 1,000 subscribers, given that I had no email list at all. And I wasn't pitching, high-profile speakers. I was actually more focusing on speakers that would fit into the event, would fit into the community, and that I like their messages for, and actually getting a really handsome profit with it. So my answer to that is absolutely yes. You can host events. What I would recommend to summit hosts that are just starting out, and especially if they're quite new to the online space, is starting with smaller summits or 1 or 2 day summits, those mini summits. They're absolutely great because you still get the same benefits as from your classical summit, but you can niche down. And there are so many great points about those little summits. So you really have the opportunity to focus on a very targeted audience and really pick those that you really want to be there. So what happens after a huge summit? Not many people talk about it, but you get a third at least that unsubscribe, right? So you had all this effort, a huge list, but then but a good number of people say, okay, thank you, I've got the information, now bye. Why would you want to do that? So what you want is to really focus, really get the customers that are interested in you, in your message, and that stay with you, that become your super fans, that fuel your business. And I think for long-term business growth, that is really the best strategy to go.
Calling all Summit hosts. I want you to join me and my tribe of Summit All-Stars at our in-person conference called Summit Fest Live, where you'll walk away with implementable strategies to rock out your summit, increase your revenues, and make connections that will last a lifetime. Come join us in New Orleans and let the good times roll. Get more information at summitfestlive.com. I love this. So we're going to dive into this topic. We're going to start to unfold it and go into some layers here, because most of the audience knows that I love one-day summits and one-day summit series as well. But we're going to dive in. I'd love to hear from your perspective the benefits, like more in more specifics. So let's dive through. First off, we've just talked about a little bit of like maybe one of the disadvantages that happens after a big multi-day summit. But let's kind of unpackage this one-day summit or micro summit, and I noticed you have a strategy called flash summits as well. So I'd love to kind of dig into that. Like when you're working with a client, let's say, how would you start off with that client to go from concept, idea to like the beginning stages of kind of mapping that out?
Well, absolutely. The first one, and everybody will tell you, but I really want to hone on that, is that you have to know your audience well. Right? You really have to know them well. And it's not just saying, well, I've got this avatar in my mind, it's like it's a side hustler who works from 9 to 5. No, you really have to know them well. So take your time. Don't rush with jumping into the summit. Just take your time to get to know them. The best thing is, I would advise to start with personal conversations. Even if we're in the online space, the best thing is to talk to real people. So if you have audience in mind, and chances are your family or friends of friends of friends represent your imaginable audience, right? Talk to those people, ask them, pick their brain, ask them, what are the problems, and pay attention to the language, pay attention to their emotions, how they react. And that's absolutely crucial. I can't stress it enough, because that will inform everything. That will inform your sales page, your marketing strategy, that will inform where you look for the audience. Because you could also ask them, where are you hanging out? Are you hanging on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn? Who? That really is important for the marketing. It will save you so much money and time afterwards if you do your homework well. Then, of course, after you've got that groundwork, you can go to Facebook groups, choose 2-3 groups and hang out there and really get to know your audience. You have to be really careful and not post things like, okay, I'm having this summit in mind, just attend it. No, of course, you kind of come from different angles, ask questions, provide value, all these basics. But that way you really know the language, know the words, and that will inform also not only the niche that you go into, but also the language that you use in your copy. And that's so crucial, because people resonate with that. They not only recognize themselves in what they see, but they also recognize the language, and they say, oh, this person gets me. Well, I want to hear what they have to say. And in that way, you also will know who those people follow. So that will help you get the speakers on board that your audience likes, that your audience follows. So in the sense, creating that community. And for one-day summits or for mini summits, really what is important is that community effect. Because let's say the challenge with the one-day summits is that they're in a flash, they come and go, right? If you have a 5-day summit, people forget, they check the email, they come back, and you get the momentum going. With the one-day summit, you really have to be strategic about them, really have to focus well on the marketing, really have to focus super, super well on the people that you're attracting and speak to them, so that when they see it, it's an easy yes. They say, oh yes, that's the event, I want to attend that, right? So you have to really do your homework well, and that informs the speakers that you choose, and also the community. For example, you can use Facebook groups, right, to keep that momentum going, because only emails, it depends on your audience, again, where they hang out, but chances are part of them will be in the Facebook space. So what you can do is nurture them before the events, right? Give them maybe live, small trainings, little snapshots with the speakers before the event. Give them a taster of what it's going to be like, and people get excited. You can, for those that are really actively participating, you can even have prizes. I mean, there are tons of strategies that you can use to keep the momentum going. It isn't time and effort. You have to take care of that, but it's absolutely worth it because your profits are going to skyrocket after that. Your people are going to stay with you, and you can actually keep that Facebook group for afterwards for your own products and services and for your next events to come. And what I think I will be testing next year, what I would recommend actually a lot of people do is don't do one event, just one day or just a mini summit. Actually do a series of them, right? You have a topic and just break it down into 3-4 events in a year. And actually that attracts people and speakers even more, especially when you're just starting out, because you don't have enough clout to really say, I've been featured here and here, and I've got these summits under my belt. But if you say, I'm planning this series of events, people already start to take you seriously. And you can also remind them, and that will fit into your overall business strategy quite nicely.
Oh, this is so good. Yes. Well, let's say I'm a new entrepreneur. I'm a newer entrepreneur. I'm trying to get going. I'm a side hustler maybe. And I'm like sold on summits. Like, okay, summits the way I want to go to like get my foot in the door, build my audience, my community, generate some revenue, etc. Like, how would I decide? Like, if I'm open to doing a multi-day summit, how do I decide whether I should do a one-day summit or go forward with that multi-day summit?
Well, it depends on the time you have on your hands. Well, if you're a mom with 2 small kids, I would definitely say do a 1-day summit or a 2-day summit max. If you have a lot of time in your hands, you can try with a multi-day summit. But actually, I would just go with a mini summit from the beginning. Because if it's your first event, the summits can be quite overwhelming. You have 25 plus speakers at least to coordinate. You have a lot of things going on simultaneously, especially if you're one-man show, right? If you don't have a huge team behind you in terms of marketing, in terms of virtual assistant, if you're a sole entrepreneur, definitely go for a mini summit because it will save you a lot of headaches. And once you have one summit under your belt, be my guest, do a bigger one. But you'll be surprised how many moving parts there are to take care of if you are doing a summit that you haven't taken into account. If there are people who are coming back with questions, even if you've answered all the questions on the website, they still come back with questions. There might be tech issues. And that's another thing that I want to point out. It's the tech side of things. So before you even think about planning or doing a summit, figure out your tech first, right? You can have all in one platform like Mark you offer or others do, or you can do on the WordPress side. I've hosted in different areas and they all work well. Make sure you just have a very good host so that your website loads fast. That's important. But figure out your tech first, because that's really a difficult part for a lot of people, especially who aren't as tech savvy. So think about the customer journey that people go through. So they sign in, they get the offer, maybe the bump offer, they sign out, how you can take care of all the payments, the affiliates, all of that. Figure out the tech, test it, and then start planning, because that will save you so much headache beforehand. Even though you have to maybe pay a little more in the beginning for the usage, it's absolutely worth it. And I would definitely say for somebody who's just a beginning summit host, figure out the tech, figure out your audience, maybe outline a few potential speakers that you want to contact, and then only think about the date. That would be my take on that.
I love that. So that, and that's so straight on. I'm a big believer and proponent that if you're just getting started, start off with a 1-day summit. It gets your feet wet. It's less, it's more forgiving. It's less all or nothing. And then you have plenty more time after that to move into a multi-day summit, as you were just saying, Sasha. So you were mentioning a little bit about the marketing and how important it is to be strategic and kind of have this, make sure you're on point with it before you move into the summit, before the summit goes well. And I agree with you completely. The benefit of the 1-day summit is it overcomes attention span because it's shorter, but also one of the problems with the 1-day summit is because it's shorter, you have a very limited amount of time to make that movement happen. So let's dive into some of the aspects or the strategies that you would be doing with the marketing. So you've identified your audience, you've got the topic. Like, what are some things you're thinking when you're considering how am I going to market this 1-day summit to help get that movement, help get that traffic?
Oh, absolutely. Well, once you know where the audience is hanging out, in terms of where you're going to market it, you're going to be Facebook, Instagram, you're going to be LinkedIn, because some of the corporate clients are actually using summits quite a bit as well now. I would start slowly by creating initial buzz. So I would actually start 3 weeks before the summits, because 4 weeks people forget. 2 weeks is a bit too short. I think 3 weeks is a sweet spot for that one. Start with creating a bit of buzz. Facebook groups can be funny with that, but you can always find ways to talk about yourself, talk about your experience, get people to answer, and then kind of get the conversation going. Mention the summit here and there. And then closer to the event, if you have an email list, of course you should have an email sequence with that. And then once the people get on board, you use the Facebook group to continue the momentum of the marketing. Actually, the Facebook group is a very powerful way. So you really have to make sure you get as many people there as possible, because it's an easy way to get momentum, to keep people excited, and also after the event to make sure that people remember you. And if you're using Facebook ads, I would definitely start 2 weeks in advance. Facebook ads, some people use it, some people don't. It depends if you have a budget for it and if you have experience with that. If you don't use them, because they're not going to bring much for you. Your best bets are your groups to create some buzz beforehand, your own email list, and the email list of the speakers. Now that's another issue in terms of how good are your relationships with the speakers. There are different approaches to the summits. There is this cold approach, and I've seen these posts on Facebook, and somebody writing, all right, well, I'm hosting the summit, you can only come if you have 2,000 followers. And it's not my approach, right? It's very cold, and it's kind of this business money making. For me, summits is about community, right? It's about creating a certain community, creating value to the people. And in that way, it creates really your super fans that will follow you and that will fuel your business. So I'm more of a person, start small and then make it big afterwards, right? So in that way, you started this little piece that will bring in a whole of your business strategy, a great benefit. So speakers are your other great marketing tool. For example, for what I use for my recent summit, actually, because you have a small set of speakers, you can get to know them very well. And that's another advantage of mini summits. You don't have 25 plus speakers. And when you have so many, you can't be too individual. You have to use automations. Otherwise, you just go insane with planning. But the benefits of these small summits is actually that they're really intimate. You have this really nice community. You get to know the speakers. And through this Peaceful Bedtime Summits, I actually got to know the speakers really well. And I didn't even have to ask them to market. I just provide the files, and they did a fantastic job at spreading it across their communities, emailing their followers. And that way, we got a huge amount of people who are interested in that. So I think in that case, you really have to leverage the tools that you have. You have to be on time, so don't start, a week before the event, because it's just not going to work. And be smart about it. I think building relationships is much more important, because people are going to talk about you, and they're going to recommend you. And even if you don't have 6 figures after the first summit, actually, if you do it smart enough, you're going to have 6 figures by the end of the year. So, and that's another thing that I really like about these Monday summits, that they can easily fit into your business strategy. So when you plan one, think about what's going to be at the end of it, right? So, but that's I'm jumping into another topic here, Mark, but it's something that's really close to my heart, because I have so many clients come to me without a proper business strategy. And that surprises me again and again, because when you have an event like that, it's just not once occurrence, right? It has to make sense for your whole business strategy. You have to know what you can do to it, and you can do millions of things with a summit for afterwards, whether it's evergreen, whether it's your future opt-in, whether you use it as a membership site. So you have many options, but it definitely has to make sense for your overall business strategy. If it doesn't, then wait, think about it, and only then plan the event.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Oh, I like that. I like it. Yes, and I completely agree. Post-summit profit strategies are a must. Unfortunately, too many summit hosts never think past the summit. Like you were just saying, Sasha, they get through the summit and then they're like, oh, wait, now what? And they miss out on that momentum. And speaking of that, I kind of want to, go into monetization just a little bit. Now, I'm a big believer that the summit is your relationship building strategy, not a monetization strategy. But with that being said, we do have our summit offers that do generate revenue and profits, which is great. And you did pretty well with your Peaceful Bedtime Summit, generating revenue, especially with a one-day summit and the audience you had. So I'd love to kind of get your feedback on what do you think was one of the most effective strategies, or maybe one of the best things that you did on that summit to allow for the monetization of it?
Well, it's something that I've mentioned in the beginning, and it's something that really is the core of any successful event, is knowing your audience. Because when I spoke to them through the website copy, I knew exactly the pains, the fears, and the transformation the parents wanted to have. Those that have troubles, kids that have trouble sleeping. So when you get your copy right, and I can't emphasize enough how important it is to get your copy right, people just say straight away, wow, this is great, I want to be part of it. And little tricks like, your usual summits hosts do is the countdown timers, where you have the limited amount of offers. The bump offer that I used worked very well. It's an additional kind of $10-15 that you use, but it increases your revenue by quite a bit each time, and people use it a lot. So that's another one. And then the pricing, you have to get the pricing right. So in my case, it was a no-brainer for the parents to sign in, because I know that the parents will not spend a lot of money on that. So you have to price it well, that your audience is ready to buy it, and that the thing, especially if it's a one-day event, you have to make sure that they think, okay, it's worth it. Another strategy that I used for that one is the bonus material of the other speakers, which is, we had, apart from the presentations, we had the bonuses that I used, some of the paid products, some of the discount vouchers that I used. And if you position it quite well, then it interests the audience members very much. So it speaks to them. And, we had actually a lot of people buy while the event was happening, because when they see the great content, they really want it. They say, okay, there's so many tips, I can't keep track of that. I need to revisit it and kind of re-listen to it again. So that's another one, very good one, I think, to help your monetization. So it's basically knowing your audience, making sure your copy is speaking to them, that it's easy for them to say, it's a no-brainer for them to say yes. And then during the event, if you provide value, especially with the first presentations, that really say, wow, this is awesome, I want to get that, I want to listen to that again, it really, really helps.
And did you include anything with your summit offer in addition to like the lifetime access? So with your all access pass, did you have any additional bonuses, any kind of things to sweeten that up?
Yeah, absolutely. We had speakers provide bonuses that were really, really great with that. They've provided discount vouchers, and there was a huge value that they've done, especially because a lot of these sleep consultants that were speakers at the summit, they actually have been parents, sleepless parents, again at some point, and then they became the consultants. So that's a lot of the path that people take. So actually in the audience, there were a lot of people who were interested to become baby sleep consultants as well, and I knew that from the homework that I did. So one of the things that I've included in the bonus offers was actually those discount factors for certified courses, which worked really, really well as an attractive factor. So Mark, it all comes down to really knowing your audience well and giving them what they want, and that will make your event absolutely successful.
Yeah, I mean that is so true, and then having that in knowledge of the audience and including that into the offer. And as you said, I'm a big fan of the bump offers and the upsells to increase that. That's usually probably been anywhere from 20 to 30% of the revenue we generate from our summits comes from those additionals. And if we didn't include them, and honestly, if we took the whole scope into perspective, if we count the post-summit profit strategy, the summit is usually only 25% of the overall money that will come from it. So it's so important with that. So let's kind of actually start to switch over into that direction. But before we get into maybe the monetization side of the post-summit strategy, I'd love to kind of hear what you do or what you like to do with your summits once they're done. Like, do you have anything you do with them afterwards? How do you either reuse them, repurpose them? Like, what's your strategy after your summit ends?
Well, there are a couple of things that I like to do. One of them is I like to use them evergreens just for the topics that I choose. It's not for everybody. Of course, it depends on what you specialize in. I like that because once you've done your work, it kind of works for itself and you get money in your sleep, and it's absolutely fantastic. So you just relaunch it again, and no work and no extra work. So that's a perfect strategy. Another one, I really like membership sites to use them for, because membership sites really give you long-lasting revenue, and that's something that a lot of business owners want to go to, because they don't want to hassle every day. You just want to take the business to that other level. And the short summits are fantastic content providers for membership sites. Basically, what you can do, you can even people have social media calendar plans, and you can have a summit calendar plan for the year. So basically, if you have a topic in mind, a niche in mind, and you have a membership, you want to move towards a membership side, you can already distill the various topics that you want to talk about. Just do, 4 summits on them. And basically you have a full membership side nearly for a year. So it's absolutely great. You invite a few speakers here and there, get a few of your products, and then you're done. It's actually quite easy work. So I don't know why not more people do that, because it's really a no-brainer in a sense.
I agree. That is great. So let's move now into more of the monetization strategy after the summit. So you were talking business strategy. Like what do you like to do? How do you first start and come up with that? And then how do you make sure that the summit fits into that overall strategy?
Well, it very much depends. When I work with my clients, it depends what stage, the business stage they're in. Are they at the very beginning, or are they already established influence and they want to just have an easy step up of the game, or they just want to have a few more connections and have a bit of more content into it. So basically, it really much depends on what stage your business are and where you're taking it further. So if you're, for example, at the very beginning, so just building the list, right? So I would just focus, okay, let's focus on the list building of the summit. So your main focus when you do that is to get as many warm leads as possible. That also influences the choice of the speakers that you have. And so, you get a mix of speakers so that you get enough leads for afterwards as well. And also what you do with the speakers. So basically you put them into a nurturing system. I would advise, even if you're just starting out, have a product for sale beforehand, right? So don't wait until the summit is done and say, and then I will create a product. No, right? Because actually the product that you create will inform your summit as well. So it's an iterative process. It's not like one step at a time. You always have to go back and forth between all the different stages. So, okay, so you're starting out, you're nurturing, you're going to sell that product, they're going to come into a funnel, and then you're going to upsell it to a larger product, a membership site, whatever you want to do that. But have at least 2-3 stages ready beforehand, because it has to make sense, right? You're not going to make a summit about Facebook ads and then I'm going to sell them a strategy on LinkedIn, right? It's not going to make sense. It has to all fit in together. Unfortunately, often it doesn't happen. And that's really a shame, because you've attracted these people who really want to know about Facebook ads, and now you're offering them something else. It's not going to make sense. So you have to make sure it's a continuum. And that's where I think the summits really are powerful, is that they are a continuum of your overall business growth. So, okay, you've had this Facebook ads. Now you're going to go more deeply into how you position them and how you target them, maybe, depending on your country and your locations, and you have a product on that. You sell it to them. Great. And then you up-level the game. And maybe you, once through that nurturing system, then you talk to the client, you figure out there's another topic that they really want to learn about. You create another summit and a product with it, and you offer it to them as well. So in that way, it up spirals, and then you can just put all the material into a membership site, and then you've got it all staged out. For influencers, for example, what they can do is, if they already have an established follow-up, you can have like VIP events, right? So it's not just one webinar, but a few presentations. I don't like to equate summits to webinars, because I think summits are very different style, right? Webinar is all about the pitch, and I think summits is all about the training, right? So even with short trainings, 20 minutes, right? But you have really great content. It's so much more worth than listening to somebody talking for 40 minutes and then you don't know what to do with it afterwards. So it's really, really narrow focused. And then you can have VIP passes. And even if you're well established, you could actually even have your summits paid, right? So they don't have to be all free. So there are many strategies, right? Or for example, for those that are just starting out and they had one summit, maybe it didn't go that well, right? So sometimes happens when you just started off, just use it as an opt-in. Why not? Great. People, you can have it as a series of email series of videos, and you can edit them, make them shorter, or, just a small training on a certain part. Use them as an opt-in training. People will love it. People will stay with you for that one. So it very much depends what stage you're in of the business, and what tools you have, what experience you have, what your audience wants, and that way will inform you also how you use the summits to leverage that. I mean, I really like the series of summits. What I've used with clients before, it's been super successful, is really having 3-4 summits in a year, one after another, and it keeps the audience engaged, keeps them something to look forward to afterwards. And once you've done one, you kind of clone it, right? You just have different speakers. And for those, that really have very little time, you can just have speakers email you the presentations. You don't even have to record them soon. So it's perfect.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
I love it. And for anybody interested in even learning more on the Summit Series, we did an entire episode on Summit Series on episode 106. So you can check that out. And I want to, as we start to wrap this up, Sasha, I'd love to kind of get like from a high level, what are you like, if you're talking to these new Summit hosts right now, like what is the thing they need to know? Like they're like, give me the strategy, give me the one thing out of all of this that I need to walk away knowing that's going to give me the most, chance for success.
Okay. Well, first of all, take your time to plan the event, right? Don't jump into it. Don't just think, okay, I want to do a summit just because everybody else around me does it. It has to make sense for your business, right? So, and you have to choose 1 or 2 goals for it. Don't think about, I want list building, I want financial support, I want speakers, just 1 or 2 goals. I wouldn't even say 1. What do you want? Do you want to have revenue? Do you want to have connections? Or do you want to grow your list? Just focus on one. The other ones will follow anyways. If you do it right, you'll get a revenue. If you do it right, you get great relationships with the speakers. No problem. But just focus on one goal. That way, you really hone down on that one and you do very, very well. Otherwise, it just becomes too overwhelming if you want to keep everything in mind, and it won't make as much sense for your business strategy as well at the point where you're doing it. And I think that's one big thing that I want to take away, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't do the planning beforehand. And secondly, what I said, you really have to know who you're addressing and what the pain point is, because if you don't, you're going to lose them. And especially for these mini summits, you have a great opportunity to really dive deep, kind of inch wide, mile deep approach for them to make sure that they get the benefit and they love you for that. So I think if you do the event, your goal is to get long-term customers, not somebody who subscribes and unsubscribes your list straight away. You want long-term, dedicated super fans that will stay with your business and that you can keep selling things for them.
So good. So good. Okay, Sasha, well, this has been an absolute blast. I know our summit hosts are going like, where can I find Sasha? How can I hang out with her? So why don't you let everybody know the best way to get in touch with you and where you're hanging out?
Sure. Well, the best way is probably on website, sashavent.com. You can either use the contact form to get in touch or just drop me an email, sasha@sashavent.com. If you're interested in the Peaceful Bedtime Summit and how it went, just visit the site, peacefulbedtimesummit.com. It's closed now, but we're going to have events next year, so you can check it out and maybe get some great ideas and tips for your own event.
Oh, it's so good. So good. So why don't you leave us with one parting piece of wisdom?
One parting piece of wisdom. Well, I think is make sure the event is part of your whole business approach. I think that's my big takeaway, because I've seen so many times it doesn't happen. Make sure if you want to plan a summit, do it short, sweet, very focused, and make sure you do something with it afterwards, that it just doesn't stand alone as one event that happened, gain you some revenue and happy with it. Make sure it gives you money again, and again.
Oh, I love that. Sasha, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the episode.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for tuning in with Sasha and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software. And just remember, your message matters. So go out and make an impact in the world. And don't forget to check out all those amazing goodies that Sasha just gave us over in the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/107. This is episode 107, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.